This is the plaintiff, Orlando Rivera Sr. He says he repaired the defendant's car, and before she paid him for his services, she stole the car off his lot. That's right. He did all this work for this woman. He spent money on the parts, and there's no way he's going to stand by and let her get away without paying him the $1,350 he's owed. So he's suing. This is the defendant, Marcy Leahy. She says she hired the plaintiff to put a new engine in her car, and he simply didn't do it. The plaintiff should never have sued her because he's actually the one who owes her money, and she intends to get it right here in this court. She's accused of not paying up. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,004.47 for missed work.
All parties, please hit your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that he did repair work for the defendant, and she came in and she simply stole the car right off his lot and won't pay him. But the defendant says that she hired the guy to put a new engine in her car, and he simply did not successfully complete the task. It's the case of, I ain't no thief if it's mine.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Rivera, you are here on behalf of Transmission Solutions, suing Marcy Leahy for $1,350, which you say she was supposed to pay you folks, and instead she just stole her car. You have a counterclaim against them for $1,000 for inconvenience and some keys that you didn't get from him because you took the car. Let me hear from you first, Mr. Rivera. What happened?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. In January, the defendant needed an engine installed. It's for her son. And January 13th, I sent her a list of engines.
Now, you two knew each other before this. You were actually friends.
Yes. Actually, this is our third transaction. She was the friend and also
How did you
a
two
neighbor.
know each other? A neighbor, okay. So you send her a list of motors, and then what?
From there, she told me a budget that she wanted to stay within.
So who picked the engine? She did or you did?
With the list that I sent her, it's basically a list of all my suppliers and the prices of the engines. She chose the most economical one.
Okay. And then what happens?
Well, I had told the defendant that, since she's a good friend and we have a good history, she doesn't need to give me a deposit. She's a good person. And I went ahead and I bought the engine January 26th.
Okay.
On the notation, the engines, basically it said it needed a tune-up.
Okay.
I advised her, we're going to basically get the engine. We also should do a tune-up and a timing belt and water pump, which is an additional maintenance service. All
right, so at some point you folks agree on the price of $1,350, which included that engine, correct?
Yeah, I told her it would be under $1,450.
Okay. Ms. Leahy, what did you think it was going to cost to get all this work done?
He said it would be under $1,450.
Okay, all right. So now, Mr. Rivera, what happens? You install the motor and what happens?
I ended up telling her that it would be best if she buys an extended warranty. She went ahead and did that 2 days after I purchased the engine. And basically that's an insurance that the junkyard would actually supply another engine and also pay for the time and labor.
Because what happens is you install the motor and what happens?
I installed the engine and it was not right. The engine ran, but it did not run correctly.
Okay. So you call her and you tell her about that misfortune, and what happens?
I told her that usually with insurances, when you kind of do a claim like this, they usually want basically proof. So I went ahead, I ran a compression test and a leak down test, and the engine failed.
Okay.
So I went ahead and told her, hey, the motor's bad. We're probably going to have to get a different one.
Okay. And then what happens?
From there, the vehicle sat at the shop for, a couple days, and it went south when February 15th, she wanted me to basically up the charge on the bill. Once she found out the insurance was going to go ahead and cover it, and I was charging her a set price, She wanted me to basically embellish the bill and bring it up just a tad so that there could be a little bit more money. I was reluctant to doing that, and I did not want to do it. So there, I kind of held off on giving her an invoice. I didn't know.
Why
if she
didn't you
was
just
gonna
give her
use
the
it.
invoice for the truth?
I waited a little bit because I didn't know whether she was going to embellish it herself because she was the one who was going to have to do the claim with
Yeah,
the
but
junkyard.
that has nothing to do with it. All you got to worry about is are your own actions. And did she actually say to you, "Hey, gin this up so that I can make more money"? Did she say that?
She said they're gonna pay Mitchell time, and I don't know what that is. So I told her what Mitchell time is basically the standard time that all the mechanics have, and that's how they charge people.
Okay.
It takes 8.8 hours to fulfill this job. I did it in less than that, and I was charging her less than that.
Right, I understand that, but you're going to have to do it again because now there's a new motor coming in, and that one has to be installed and whatever. But did a new motor come in?
The junkyard, we were basically at the will of the junkyard, and the junkyard, we were having to wait for them. They said they
Okay.
were going to have another engine February 23rd, I believe.
All right, so while you're waiting for the other engine on February 23rd, what happens?
We got in an argument on basically February 17th.
And what was the
we got
argument
in
about?
She wanted the invoice.
Okay.
And so
Why didn't you just give her the invoice as you saw fit?
I did that night. It was a snowstorm. I got home pretty late, and I told her, "Hey, I'm going to stop everything. I'm going to send you the invoice, the original one." So at that point in time, about 9 o'clock at night, I sent her that invoice.
All right, and then what happens?
We continued to argue up to, I would say, 12 o'clock at night.
And what were you guys arguing about?
It was basically just going back and forth.
Well, no, I need to know the words she was saying.
She's blaming me because the vehicle is not done. And I told her, we're at the will of the junkyard. There's nothing we can do. If you had a motor, I would put it in right now. And just a couple of insults back and forth.
Like what? What did she say? What were the insults?
Basically that she wasn't sure if I'm doing the right thing. She doesn't understand how I can run a business like this. I told her, hey, it's 9 o'clock at night. We shouldn't even be talking. And I told her, it's late at night. Let's just stop. But it just kept on going on.
Then what happens?
So at that point in time, I told her, I said, look, you're being difficult. There's nothing that, I can do, for you, that's going to make you happy. Just pay me cost and come pick up your vehicle.
Okay. And what were your costs at that point?
I told her at that point, I just told her, just give me the $500 for the engine. I'll take a loss for the rest. Obviously, there's no making you happy.
And then what did she say?
She said, yeah. She said that, yeah, she was going to pay. So then the next day, I gave my partner the heads up. I told him, hey, if the defendant comes in for her vehicle, just collect the $500 and give her the keys.
And what happened instead?
Instead, when I called my partner, he told me that the vehicle was not there. That the vehicle was gone.
Where was the vehicle, Ms. Leahy?
It was at a shop that he rents space at.
Right.
I took it.
And what did you do? Did you just go and get the vehicle without paying those $500 that were his costs?
Yes, I did. I had it towed. It wasn't drivable.
But aren't you supposed to pay him $500? Wasn't that the deal you had struck the night before?
Yep, and I had the $500. However, in the meantime, during that conversation that he called me on, I didn't call him at 9 o'clock, he called me. He told me he was going to pull that engine out and leave me an empty shell with the transmission hanging out of it.
Well, not if you paid him for the engine.
The car wasn't drivable.
Right, but you are getting a new engine based on the idea that the old engine didn't work. So the old engine has to be paid for. You don't get a free engine.
No,
the insurance is to cover the bad engine that occurred. But the bad engine has to come out of your pocket. It's your car. So if you guys agree the night before that he's not going to do the work, just pay me $500, you can take your car, take it somewhere else. Why don't you do what you agreed the night before and show up in the morning, pay $500, get your key fobs, and then tow your car?
That's not what he said.
Oh, okay. So you tell me your version of what was said the night before.
The night before, and I have voice recording of half the conversation. He had called me. He wanted to set this right, and he wanted to make everything right. And he told me that he's mad that I picked this engine. He said, you chose the bad engine. I said, you went and got the engine. You gave me a list and you told me where to call.
Guys, it doesn't matter who, there's no magic, all right, who pointed first to the engine.
Well,
That's
because
not,
he was.
Right, I understand, but that's a silly discussion to be having. The bottom line is stuff happens, it happened, and how is it going to get solved? You know, it's not his fault. You think it's his fault? It's not her fault. You think it's her fault? It's just one of those things that has to be dealt with, and so it caused a delay.
He told me that he was not going to do anything else for free, like I wasn't paying him. You call and get an engine and you have it delivered. Well, I had done that and it was $290 to have it delivered. I said, I'm not going to pay $290 when you chose an engine that wasn't right. Why do I have to pay to have it delivered? So the whole conversation kept going.
Did he
back
ever
on
offer
me.
you, look, just pay me my money and take your car?
At the very end of our
And
conversation?
so if at the very end
No.
of the conversation he says, just pay me what you owe me and you can get the car, then why don't you just pay him what you owe him and then get the car? Why do you steal the car in the middle of the night?
I was afraid he was going to get there. I had to work in the morning, and I was afraid he would remove that engine, like he said, and leave an empty shell. So
What was the last thing he said? I'm going to leave you without an engine or pay me $500.
give me $500. and
Then
take
you
the
know
car.
he's not going to do that. So why do you do it?
I couldn't trust him because first
You
of all, he
couldn't
doesn't have
trust
a
him.
partner.
So right now, here's what you got. You got a water pump. What else? Spark plugs, timing
change.
belt, a motor that is the basis for your insurance company getting you a good motor so it has value. And you've paid zero to the guy, zero. And you go in the middle of the night like a liar that you are to steal the car because I can't trust him.
If you could hear the conversation that he was doing with me, I was not being the liar.
Let's hear
I
the
was
conversation
scared.
that he was doing with you.
Should have stopped this a long time ago. Okay.
So you want me to pick it up and take it somewhere else?
I need to get paid. If you do that, I can cut the cost. You got the invoice for $13.50. I can cut the cost. You can take it somewhere else.
I
What do
don't
you mean,
understand what
somebody?
I
These
don't
are options.
understand
Like,
what you mean by cut the cost.
I paid $500
Yes.
for the engine.
Yeah, absolutely. I would give you that. Yeah.
Okay, give me $500 and take the car. Who cares about everything else? I don't care about anything else. Just give me $500, take the car.
Okay.
Okay.
Now with that engine's gonna be in it and I can drive away with it.
Drive it away. You know what? 500.
Okay.
Yeah, just give me $500. I'll cut all the costs. I don't care
All right.
at this point.
So I'm gonna go pick up the car.
You have $500.
I have $500.
Just give me $500. Take the car.
Okay.
You provide this into evidence to support your defense, Ms. Leahy, because I just heard very, very clearly that you struck a deal and then you stole the car in the middle of the night.
I didn't steal the car. He
Yes,
said,
you
"Go get
did.
the car."
You're not supposed to have access to that car unless you pay $500, which is exactly what you just said in this video recording. Do you have the $500? Yes, I have $500. Great. Pay me the $500. And your answer for why you took the car in the middle of the night is, I didn't trust him. Yeah, come on,
didn't.
man. Are you
I
kidding
didn't.
me?
He was
What
messing
is
with
your
me for
counterclaim
45
against him
minutes.
for time, tow, key, and inconvenience? Tell me about your counterclaim.
All the time that he had the car, that he wasn't working on it and it was sitting there. I've had to miss work to take my kid here, there, and everywhere. So I have my lost time. He has the key and the key fob. I have that. I had to have it towed because it was not drivable after he said it was drivable. And so I had that.
You strike a deal, Ms. Leahy, and then you violate the deal. What do you think I'm going to do? You think you're walking out of here with money? You're walking out of here with nothing. And you're going to pay the
I'm
man.
the bad guy here.
Yes, you are. You're so much the bad guy. I have no words to describe what a bad guy you are. I hear in your own voice the nail on the coffin of your badness, where you say, okay, so I bring 500 and then I get the car? Yeah. And then you go in and you steal the car in the middle of the night and you don't even pay the guy the 500. 500, which is what he's out of pocket. Never mind everything else that he did for your car. You still have the key fob and the key?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I lied. You are getting those two back when you pay the guy, not 500, which was the settlement that you did not abide by, but instead 1,240, so that you can pay for all of the service that he provided to you that's not free. There is no free ride on your counterclaim,
Wasn't
only
asking
the
for a
car
free
key
ride.
and the key fob. and figure out how to apply boundaries to both friendships and customers. You got that, Mr. Rivera? Good luck.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
We are going to take a break, and when we come back, Judge Millian is going to be in chambers with her husband John. Before that, Doug will be in the hallway with the litigants.
So the plaintiff prevails to the tune of $1,240, and he gets some good advice from the judge. Meanwhile, the defendant, the boom is lowered on her. Ms. Leahy, the judge let you have it. What are you thinking right now?
I don't get how I'm the bad guy when he didn't want to fix the engine that he put in. I wanted him to fix it. That's not what he wanted to do. So it is what it is. The judge says what it is. I just didn't appreciate being talked to like that because I'm not a liar. I'm a good person. And he was ripping me off.
Let me ask you something. You've been through this whole thing. Now you've been through the trial. Do you think you've learned anything from this whole experience?
I learned that Transmission Solutions is a terrible place.
All right, well, you got a lot more to learn then, unfortunately. All right, Mr. Rivera, let me ask you something. What have you learned from this whole experience with this customer that you know fairly well?
It's kind of how the judge said. I know from now on, everyone has to pay a deposit. It doesn't matter who it is.
Well, then, you've learned a good lesson, too. Plus, you're getting $1,240. You were suing for $1,350, so you're almost home.
I am.
Yeah. Okay, Harvey. Lessons for everybody in this case. What do you think?
Okay, Doug, this is a case about settlement. And when you're in a dispute, always try to settle it without going to court. Now, the key here is this, that when you settle it, it has to be a completed deal, that there has to be something on both sides that is agreed to where each person gets something, or else the settlement is invalid.
How long does it take you to get ready in the morning? What's the one thing in your morning routine that you can't do without?
I get ready ridiculously fast.
Yeah, you think you're still in college.
Right. So, I mean, if
we
leave
have to
myself
leave at
5
7,
minutes,
you show up at
Right.
6:55 from playing golf.
Right.
Drives me crazy.
I take a quick shower, bing, bang, boom. But in the mornings,
You do get ready quick, but then
Yeah.
you don't know where your keys are. You can't find your sunglasses, so you don't walk out the door quickly. So you should leave more
that's
than
'cause
5
it's
minutes.
all in your purse.
Yeah.
Anyway, the one thing I can't do without in the mornings is I have a razor, and it's a single blade injector razor, like the ones that people used back in the 1960s and early 70s, I guess. That you really don't see them anymore. But I switched to that a while back because I got sick of throwing out plastic razors and throwing out plastic cartridges for multi-blade razors. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. And this thing is just better, and you don't waste as much. It's just a tiny little foil blade that goes in and goes out from time to time.
That'll do it for this session of the People's Court. See ya.